heard a rumor that the uncle has a concubine towards the city. I had heard the rumor from a friend long ago, was a classmate of junior high school. Thing about putting a concubine is, I do not trivial and a little also wonder, is this uncle? While you were alive, father, I was surprised that you did into your ear such a reputation. Friend was let telling the rumors about various uncle also outside it, though has been considered from the other, as was about to fail a temporary business. These two, even of that came rallied 3 years also suddenly, was one of them, and it was one of those wearing died strongly my suspicion. I opened the finally uncle and danpan, because danpan might be a little impropriety, but speaking from the drifting of the story, to the absence of applications to the outside then epithet at those words, it came down the natural tone. Uncle also will try me in children treatment is far. I also have for his uncle in the eye of suspicion from the beginning. It was not going to get a gentle solution. Unfortunately I am in a hurry ahead, as cannot be written here in detail the particulars of the danpan now. As a matter of fact, I have more than this. I declined to something more important. My that the pen is early wants to luck follow to it. Much is being held down and gradually with the thing. I will not only not familiar with the way to take the brush, and in the sense that you mew the precious time, you must also omitted that you want to write that has lost the opportunity to speak quietly to meet you forever. You will still remember, to you I will someday, that such is built in of the bad guys is not the thing you are in the world. A lot of good people that such must not be off guard because suddenly become villain in case of emergency. At that time you gave me in mind to be excitement in me. Then in any case, good man was asked to change to a villain, when I just answered a gold. Did you dissatisfied face? I am a good memory of your dissatisfaction face. I would now confide in front of you, but I was thinking at that time that this uncle, as an example of ordinary things become villain, suddenly you look at the gold as an example that cannot be. There are those enough to credit in the world, but I was thinking this uncle along with the hatred. My answer is, you might was unsatisfactory for you to let us in rushing to the back of the thought world. Might was stale, but to me it was the answer was alive there. In fact I should not have been excitement. Then I speak of new things in the frosty head. I believe that those who describe the mediocre theory in hot tongue is alive, because the body is moved by the force of the blood. Words not only convey a wave in the air, because it is possible to influence more strongly to the stronger ones. 9. In terms of bite. Uncle, did you abisumaka my property? Thing is that I was done easily during the 3 years that have come to Tokyo. All uncle, I was in cold blood in the left eye. Will if Hyosher from the real was a fool, worldly, or more of the point of view speaking worldly, or shall we say in the net Naru precious man, I unto himself at that time. Why bad more people when I think did not come born, does not collect in his own was too honest kuchioshiku, but also somehow, it happens even mood that you want to see live back up to the appearance of the remains was born. Sayo again, please memory. If you're in that I know is my after the dirt and the dust called messy became what a lot of years in. Seniors. I would certainly senior than you. If I was married to a daughter of hope as uncle of the uncle. The result is either would have could be advantageous to take the material to me. I think this is that there is no brainer. My uncle I was trying to impose on me daughter ploy, rather than favorably to the convenience of both families. It has been driven by the interests heart that vulgar much. I was directed to me marriage problem. I just do not love the cousin, but I was not hated. Come to think of it later, it was turned it down. I think to be a somewhat amusing to me, although being a bisumaka would be the same either way. Speaking from the put is the way. Those who do not morale with the cousin is, as seen from that it is not I wanted to the other side. That is a little passed through my ear since it becomes, but it is the trivial things that do not have enough in the most problem. In particular wants you to say no relation. will appear, and no doubtful mind was obstinacy. We entered those of other relatives in between me and uncle. I did not like credit also those of its relatives. Not only do not trust, it had been hostile, but rather, I, along with the subtle and uncle deceived me, was languishing and must always deceive myself other things. Father, because this even uncle was by far me Readig award, because the other thing was my logic. But they are for me. Give me together those of all according to my own. It is estimated the amount was much less than I expected, or receive it in silence as I, if not whether to public rumor is filed against the uncle. There is only two ways. I was angry. In addition, it hesitated. It was also a possibility that consuming a long time to settle into litigation. I am, because it is the body in studying. I thought also is that it is very painful to be deprived of valuable time as a student. I thought of the results. Asked an old friend of the junior high school that dwell in the city what I received. Tried to change the shape of all gold. Old friend who was sealed gave me the advice to say that it is obtained. However, I did not hear, and I caused the decision to leave the long time home at that time. I swore in his heart and my look at the face of the uncle. Before I stand the country. Also we came to the father and mother of the tomb. I do not have that, so I cut its grave. It will not come the opportunity to see another forever. My old friend gave me Tori Hakara to as my words. However, it is that after I have passed abuses from arriving to Tokyo, it does not sell as easily I was trying to sell. Such as how to land in the countryside. There is a possibility to be stepped on by looking at the foot when it comes to emergency. Amount of money that I received did those abuses small compared to the market value. When the confession, my property is the only money that I had sent some of the public debt, which he had left home in the bosom. From later this friend, as a parent of heritage there is no difference to have been reduced to very than solid. Moreover, because I have not had reduced aggressively, it should be noted that the mood was bad, but to live as a student did it with more than enough. I did not use even half of the interest coming out of it and tell the truth. My student life at this margin I put she recessed me in the unlikely circumstances. 10. There is no inconvenience to the gold out of the noisy boarding house. I was in the mood of whether let's holding a new Ichino hey. But is it there is also a hassle to buy household utensils. To take care you occur the need for old lady. The old lady is also to trouble if it is not honest sa worry unless they okay even if the home to absence means such. Able to run the Chokora Shwalup without Satoshi Taba One day I am from Sozaraga Koro of whether let's looking well even home only. Walk went up towards the Denzuan Strait the slope of Koi Ishikawa down to the west of the Hongo-dai. To the temple, become a train passage from. But over there how the need is I have like different. In the earthen wall of that time, the left hand is artillery arsenal. Right as what grass grew to one side to open space that does not stick as well as Satoshi Hara Hill. I am of the grass standing in the what my heart was looking at the cliff of no other side. You do not have a bad scenery still. Even in just that time also had much flavor of that the west is different. Green as far as the eye can see are deeply wooded to one side. Nerve Yasumari. I thought I will not appropriate home to suddenly around here. So it crossed the immediately grassland. Went willingly narrow streets to the north. Not fully become a still good town. But pishy to have every door of that side was did what seems fairly do not dirty because things of the hour and minute, I will leave or the do next, or bent the alley, was round and round to walk around. At length on top of the candy shop San. I tried to ask her not as small in size the rental housing to around here. Above San is saying, well, but was puzzled early days. Completely Omo Iatara, visible house choi too. It was no wind. I hung back Tathing in Thailand lame known as Omu. Then top San also. We here do not go as amateur boarding house. I have changed a little care. Is are you boarding alone in a quiet amateur shop? but rather had figured it would be fine with Naku is trouble with the house. Then over the hips to the store of the candy shop. I had to tell that familiar with the above san. It was a home living rather bereaved family of, rather than a military family. And my husband Top-san told me he died or something when anything Sino-Japanese war. Until just a year, but he lived in Toka near the Academy of Ichigaya, if there is such as stables, because the mansion is too wide, and sold off there, but came moved to here. Seibishiku, unattended. I had been asked me to take care when there is considerable people from. Troubled Tae's right, I am from the Top-san. Has verified the fact that he does not have the outside than the widow and the only daughter and the maid in the house. I thought in the mind intends quiet and extremely very well, but in one of such a family, like me things, in was carried out suddenly. The original name of student who might have identity, was also immediately rejected Kakinan of whether my death. I have also considered whether it elsewhere, but I did not have so much unsightly attire as a student. Then he had suffered of the cap of the university. You will laugh, saying that it happened to the cap of the university, but college students of that time, unlike now. But what was a credit to Oida world, I much found a kind of self-confidence in this square hat that case. As thus taught above's candy shop, I visited the home of the bereaved family of the soldier without anything introduction. I was told the purpose of a visit to meet the widow. Widow has various questions about Yara, professional Yara, school Yara, my identity. Then we'll grip somewhere or place that's okay if this. Gave me to immediately sit the greeting the permissible not come moving at any time. Widow was a righteous man. Also was the one who was ascertained. I was impressed wondering what thing called Saigon of military personnel is everyone these kind of things. Admiration also was, but was also surprised, where this temper was also suspicion and probably lonely. 11. I was moved drawn immediately to the house. I had rented a parlor that was to talk to the widow. When I first came there is the most in the home. Was a good room wind. Such as higher boarding house in Hongo side since the thing of the hour and minute that the house was built trickle. I had knowledge of the situation between the best that could be occupied as a student. Room became my new husband was a much more respectable than those. Moved the current is. I seemed a much too much to me as a student. Size of the room was 8 tatami mats. If there is a set of staggered shelves next to the bed. On the side opposite to the edge we have a closet of Ken. The window is the one also did not, but the bright day instead south-facing edge was pointing well. I am on the day that moved. Saw the flower, which is go to the floor of the chamber. The koto, which has been subjected erected next to it, which did not even my favorite. Since I grew up poems and calligraphy and green tea and she free father of near. The hobby was cryptic. Tang had from one of the small test would you like is also the reason that I was with a habit of quietly despise this kind of gloss dudes have decoration equipment. Where my father was gathered during Zanjoas. It had been messed up because of the example of his uncle, but still was left somewhat. I have it when you stand up country I had entrusted to an old friend of the junior high school. Then what is interesting in that 4 or 5 came to put in the width naked to the bottom of the luggage. I will move as soon as you take it out wasn't going to enjoy at the risk to the floor. However, because the saw now kind of harp and flower arrangement, I have suddenly lost courage. When this flower is aware of the fact that he was go to the feast for me started to hear from later. I was bitter smile in your heart. However, because Koto I was there from before. This is because there is no place office. Will had been risked standing on forced leave that. With this kind of story, it will pass through a young woman's shadow in nature the back that went in your head. I also that moved was. But from the beginning that does not utsura of such curiosity was already moving. Probably because this evil is impaired my nature preliminary. Or because I was not accustomed still people. When I met the first time there's daughter. Was the Hedimoto the greeting? It was also red face your instead daughter. I'm pushing from the widow of their appearance and attitude to it. All of this daughter had imagined. But his imagination was not very favorable to take the daughter. Oh wonder, because Saiken of military personnel. In the order in which they said it would be this way, because it is the daughter of the Saiken. I guess when extend gradually. However, the guess is, the moment I saw the face of the daughter, was cancelled altogether. Then my smell of the opposite sex that did not reach even imagine until now into my head was come. In new. I it from or go to the floor of the front flower is no longer no. Koto that is at the risk of standing on the same floor was also no longer get in the way. The flowers you are further go to be a time also a regularly diao. Koto also is often to be carried away to the chamber of Sujiwai, which has been in the hands of the key. While I butted the hozu on the desk in his living room, he had heard the sound of the harp. I do not know how well the lame or the harp that good it. But looking at the place where you do not play the remainder intricate hand, I thought would not the good it. Well, I thought it would something about the degree of flower arrangement. Hannah and should I to no liking as well. But the daughter as the I did not in any way delicious person. Even so shamelessly variety of flowers gave me decorate my floor. However, Katsukata did the same thing even when seen. Then there was no vase, also Suizohen examples. But it was more strange than the flowers and become one of the music. Pots and only sound the thread. You do not let the echo real voice. Sung not of na, although there is no. I do not issue to only a small voice, so that even in the inner office talking like. And it will not leave at all when scolded. I would be willing to look at this poor flower arrangement. We listened to the first likely harp of sound. 12. My mood had already become pessimistic when you stand the country. Others is the notion of something that does not rely on. We seemed to have soaked up in the Tokikotsu. I have my theme aunt Ano uncle the enemy. That the other relatives. And even the state of the neighbors. Spoken since implicitly beyond we were. Sometimes begun to attention as if they were writing to the representatives of as figured I was. Train of humanity, but then. Now want to add the warning still things. My heart was there was. Omokuru Shiku made it from time to time in such a way he drunk the lead Shinatsa. And yet my nerves, sharply pointed to as the saying now it was gone. Also I was trying to leave the boarding house to come to Tokyo. This seems to be a major source factor. Only if there is no inconvenience to gold. Is up to it, and speaking it became even bother to try poised 1 units. But if my original street, even if can afford though the flashlight, a willingly such troublesome imitate will did not. I am also from the proceeds pull to Koishikawa. I could not give a relaxing feel that this tension for the time being. I am about myself embarrassed at myself. Had Kyoto Mimawashi around, to work wonder to maybe the only head and I, in the opposite direction of the mouth with it, became not move gradually. While I often observed like a cat the appearance of things of the house, I was sitting in front of the desk in silence. The more I think sometimes it's sorry to them, but I was not poured vigilant attention on them. Eyes like seen kinchikakiri not to ma things. I think this. I myself was even to become sick. You would think strange determined, that what I have why liking the margin the bottom of the daughter. The poor flower arrangement of the young lady. Whether or not there is room to look and why therefore happy. Whether or not there is room to hear the same bad koto of the person why willing. When it is so question. Because I'm just that both was the fact. Is not there a way out rather than I'll tell you as a fact. Construed as leave it to you with my head. I just let's afterthought word. Though I could not believe humanity for the gold. For the love, I still did not suspect the human race. So be those strange when viewed from the other. Also get the idea, even those that were contradictory. I was both unabashedly as among my chest. Because I had to say always wife that of the widow. Says his wife without now referred to as the widow. His wife was liking me quiet man. A quiet man. Then told me compliment also that it is a hard worker. But in my anxious eye with, for Kyoto the state, it did not give everything even to the mouth. Notice did not for one. Did we refrain from, but do not know which way do it. I saw seemed not like paying attention but anyway. Not only that, I am saying that it may those who oyo in some cases. It may have a dominant way of mouth seems to have or else respected. At that time honest I blushed a little face. Denied the words of the other side. Then his wife, because you do not notice it yourself. So you say I gave me seriously explained. His wife seems like was not going to put a student like me start to home. In Canes lend anywhere in the Suwashiki to something or people who work to the office. I seems to have asked the good offices to those in the neighborhood. And Naku, rich in salary. Well, the idea that because many people to boarding house enforced amateur so had entered somewhere in the wife of the head from the front piece. His wife is by comparing their drawn on the chest and the imagination of the audience with me. I praise to say the people of here that it is oyo. I see when compared to a person in such a truncated life. I'm over the money. It may have been oyo, but it is because you do not have a temper problem. It was the general almost no relation to me of the inner life. His wife also it only to the woman spread pushing the whole of me. Rissamer we tried to apply the same words. 13. This attitude of his wife came to affect the nature of my mood. Well a while, my eye is no longer adhere about the original look around. In the place where my heart is sitting with myself. I got used to feel like that properly fell with. In short, those of his wife, including the houses, in my eyes and skeptical my state that Higan did not Tenkar or Toriawa is, because gave me great happiness small. My nerves were gradually subsided for lack of reflection that comes glare from the other party. Because his wife was a man of knowledge. Deliberately it is also believed that was me dealing with me like that. Also is to profess their own. It might have been observed that it is actually oyomi. In my Kosatsuki how the phenomenon of in your head, you do not know may have been Husonin because you will be considered as well as I did not go out much, are those of his wife. With my heart calmed down, I came gradually approaching those of the family. Both his wife now refers to a meeting with daughter. There was also the day called to the chamber of the other side to say that because I put the tea, also come to buy sweets in the way of me. There was also the night to or invited 2 people over here. I felt like the area of suddenly dating was Hugh. It was there without the thing over and over again to be crushed a time of important study for. Strange to say, the interference does not become Miko disturbing to me. His wife was well homogen. Daughter is on to go to school. Because I'm learning to flower Dano of them harp. And I think intends Isogashi Karo determined. It is also as it unexpectedly seemed to have a margin any number of time. So 3 people are gathered together and even see the face. I played with the small talk. Come to call me. It was mostly young lady. Daughter is bent the edge at a right angle. Then you sometimes stand in front of my room. Missing the living room. There was also to show the figure from the shadow of the sliding doors of the next room. Daughter remains a little to come to there. Then surely call my name. I hear that you study. Quote, I opened the most difficult book in front of the desk. Because I had looked at it. Will look like a no doubt a hard worker you see in the near. However, when in fact the say, I had not studied the book quite so enthusiastic. While it wore on top of the page, it was something about waiting to come to the call of the daughter. If you do not come waited, we stand up in the way of me from not be helped. Then go to the front of the chambers of the other side. It is from here to here if your study is. Daughter of the room was a 6-mat room, which was followed by the living room. His wife to some things that are in the living room. Also there was also who is daughter of the room. This means that even if there is this 2-room partition, not when the same thing, parent-child, two people to come and sue forward. I had occupied which way to not adhere. I multiplied the voice from the outside. It was surely wife answer that get your hind. Daughter did not have it was a rarely reply also was there. Occasionally a lone daughter. Incidentally, which entered if there is used to my room. Came out to them even if there sat be deep in talk. Such as, when such as my heart come affected strangely uneasy. Then and only he anxious that are sitting in the young woman and the only difference facing did not think. I am somewhat of fidgeting and out. A natural attitude to betray myself that I torment me. But the other party was rather calm. This much is suspected in that woman. I wonder that voice did not even put out in six to dredge the harp. I do not be shy, because too much longer, be referred to the mother from the living room, only to reply, yes. There was even that is not easy to raise the waist yet daughter is never was not a child. It well in my eye had been found. Vestigial even was clear that the show often seen as acting in. 14. After I was standing daughter. Do you hot breath? At the same time, you will feel like also sorry. Such is unsatisfactory. I might have had on Narashika. Now the young man because you were seen after though would appear so. But we of that time as I was usually such a thing. His wife did not have it was to go out rarely. Even when that, occasionally absent the home. I daughter and me there was no such a thing go. Leaving two people in law. Whether it is also by chance that of, or deliberately of the, I do not know to me. This is strange to say from my mouth. But when the state of his wife has been the ability rather than observation. You look also seemed once to somehow moved closer in his daughter. And yet, in some cases, I was sometimes bad of mood implicitly also because there is such I just be vigilant against me. That I met in the case the first time like this. I wanted to ask to put away the wife of attitude in which way or speaking from the work of the head. It was not the difference in apparent contradiction. But deceived was stored in the uncle still knew I could not help but pinch the suspicion that depressed one step further. I am a which one is true of the attitude of his wife. Which one was estimated would lie. Then was a tough decision. But not only doubt, is its meaning do with either such a strange thing that did not namicome to me. Even if Kangad also the reason, I do not Kangades. There was also that was put up by smeared on one character that woman is sin. I all because by Jing woman, what that woman's anyway foolish thing. My idea came at any time fall here if I Kazumer. I had so underestimated the woman. Also was not able to devalue the absolutely daughter. My theory did not work enough to not make for entirely in front of the person. I am against that person. I had a little love close to the faith. I saw that the application of this word to be used only to religion. To the young woman. But you might think strange. But I believe firmly still. True love we firmly believe the fact that not the one that was so different from the religious heart. Every time I see the face of the daughter, was the mood like myself is beautiful. Given that the daughter, noble mood was thought to come soon possess their own. If there is a both ends to those mysterious of love, that is the high-end work is sacred feeling. If is moving libido to low end, my love is what certainly caught the high pole. I was a body that cannot be leaving the meat as well as human beings. But in my eye to see the young lady, my heart to think about the daughter, did not at all tinge with the smell of meat. Along with the eye entertain the antipathy against the mother, but because it was carried out by increasing the degree of love for the child. Three persons of the relationship, from the beginning was boarding house came become increasingly complex. Although the change did not come appear to the outside mostly internal. From them perhaps the opportunity I have now feel that would not then had been misunderstood his wife until now. Contradictory attitude toward my wife, I which also came reconsider would not a lie. Moreover, it is alternately in Naku is to dominate the wife of the mind. We both at any time have come to think that he is present in the breast of his wife at the same time. In other words, while his wife has been trying to close to me as much as possible, daughter, but seems to be contradictory or adding a warning to me at the same time. When you add the warning, nor anything in the fluttering, also forget the one of attitude, also for you to observe, and I wanted to still move closer to people, just more than a degree that he deems legitimate. It was interpreted as I am, the two people are in close contact. To the lady, I did not moesha of sense to approach from the direction of the meat. The time, I thought it was getting unexpected worry, but I feel that I think bad wife died from it. 15. I am the wife of attitude, variety, look incomprehensive. I was sure that that is enough credit here in the house, yet the credit was discovered, even evidence that he was there from the time of the first meeting. In my chest began skeptical the other. This discovery sounded as much a little strange. I thought I'd wonder who the woman compared to a man is rich and the more intuitive. At the same time, for a woman is a man. That is to be observed, so I thought, wife in one would not lie, and this deception is the same as such, because he was working strongly intuitive to the young lady. And think now, funny you. Well, I vow to mind if you do not believe in the other, because absolutely I believed the young lady, and yet, believe me, as because I strange to think was his wife. I did not talk a lot less about things of his hometown. I did not say anything about especially this time of the incident. I've already felt the unpleasant kind of, even floated it in mind. I was as much as possible Chikara made to hear only the story of the people of his wife, but so as directed, not aware. Put in something. I want you to know my country source of circumstances. I was totally at last everything talk. I will not go back as to again country. Not anything be back, when there is given that only told that it only tomb of the father and mother. His wife was to show the manner in which apparently was very impressed. Daughter cried. I thought I was that good talk. I was glad. His wife heard all. I've really started to the face of just not said that his intuition was hit. Then is to treatment to handle or something, young ones to hit me and my relatives. I did not start even belly. Much it is felt rather pleasantly. But my suspicion is came also happened to them. I started skeptical the wife was from the very trivial things, but in one go overlaid the trivial things. Suspicion will come gradually rooted. I suddenly wife what kind of time signature, with the same kind of meaning, and uncle. I figured out whether not Risimer of trying to close to me daughter. Then people seemed kind until now. It came Utsuji to my eye as suddenly cunning tactician. I chewed the bitter lips. His wife is from the beginning, because the lonely unattended had been declared that he will take care to put the customer. I also did not think it as a lie. Even after listening to various confided stories get to know, it seems like there was no mistake there. But the general economic state was not so much say that it is much rich. Consider from interested problem, to put me in the special relationship is, I was never hurt to take to the other party. I also added a warning, but I have the strong love of much went before against the daughter. Well, what made me much was added to the warning against the mother. I was ridiculed his alone. Fools and do not say. There also be cursed myself, but still only conflict if much idiot I am. I did not have to cancel so much pain. My agony is, for it occurs also daughter in the same way as his wife began to meet the question of whether would not in the tactician. On two people was a meeting in behind me, and I think that probably is doing everything. I am no longer unbearable suddenly Kurushiku. There is no then unpleasant. It becomes a distressed mood as desperate situation. And yet I did not firmly believe suspected the young lady to one. So I stood in the middle of belief and doubt. We will not be able to be a little also move. To me it is which way is also the imagination. Also I which was also true. 16. I was attending to school never change face. However lecture of people standing in the pulpit is print to enter into the I was the mood reblogged. Study also street thereof, as heard in the way of far and less span am I immersion to the bottom of my heart I am going to disappear as of smoke. I became reticent on it. Two or three of my friends are misunderstood, as if they even indulged in meditation. Told other friends, I have the people lent me a good mask of this misunderstanding did not try to solve the convenience. Rather it was joyous happiness. But still worry sometimes was sorry they'll try. Sometimes surprised they are traveling around attacked impatience skills. My ing was a little man out of the house. Relatives also seemed not many. Daughter of school friends were there occasionally come to play, but for a very small voice. Would return to the story, such as do not know whether I not whether I if was the ordinary. It is that it from the refrain for me. Did not notice squid for me also. Those that come to visit to me. Although I did not have much of a violent person, because the man, such as to the care and the people of the house I did not even one person, comes to such a place. Lodger me is like a master. Is the same thing as essential daughter was in rather le grand chef of IG. But this is only wrote in passing that just remembered. In fact, it is that it does not matter anyhow. But I had one thing not good even if there, living room or otherwise in the chambers of the daughter, I hear a sudden a man voice. The voice is also unlike my customers. I exceedingly low, so I do not know like what are you talking about? Then the more do not know if you do not know. I give a kind of excitement on my nerves. I began to strangely irritated by sitting. I any wonder relatives. Are you see at first thought that I wonder if a mere acquaintance. Then you try to thought and wonder young man wonder whether elderly people. There is no should you shareo of such a thing as not sitting. To say or not. Still do not go to the translation carried out standing view to open the sliding door. Rather than my nerves tremble. It tormented me hit a big wave. After I returned the customer. I heard the name of the person to not forget I'm sure. Reply of the daughter and wife. Also it was very simple. While I showed unsatisfactory face to people, we did not have the courage to suik you up enough stuff. Rights will did not have of course. I show in front of them and self-esteem came from the education that must be respected their dignity. Currently the greed thought that with a face that is uragi the self-esteem at the same time. They laughed. It is naku, a means of ridicule, or what came out of favor, and whether such gonna show ish favor. I am lose luofu about not found room for interpretation in the immediate sitting. After having undergone it to do so forever, it has been a fool. Whether would not you are a fool. You repeated in your heart nothing cursory. I was a free body, though to quit the school in the middle, but also but kurasu if wherever you go, or is trying to marry anywhere in the who, stood in need of no IG to anyone consultation. That was the decision of whether to see and talk to undergo got a daughter to his wife to take the plunge. There was time and again so far, but on each occasion I hesitate. Your to the mouth was gone without finally issued. It is not because there is frightening refused. If refused, but do not know whether my destiny what you want to change. And to instead now standing in the place where different a direction. Because the is coming also occur convenience overlooking the new world. That much courage the it was put out if put out. But I used to be lured was hate. The ride to the other hand was resentment more than anything else. I was deception to his uncle. Even if there is now on what kind of things. I was determined to avoid being his deception to people. 17. I looked to buy only books. His wife was called a little koshira ero the kimono I did not have only those woven in the countryside cotton kimono that I was a student that contains the silk. I could not wear the skin in something to my friend our Yokohama merchant. But the house had the one that is living quite in dispatched it. When there is it that the bodice of Habute has arrived at the delivery is there you. Then all that, but laughed to see it. The man was variously excused shy. I do not use in the area just bought as much trouble to the bottom of the luggage. I wanted it not by the addition as many te. Was dressed deliberately. Then unfortunately the bodice lice was sponging on. Friend would have thought that just fortunately. 2. Rolled round and round the bodice of reputation. Incidentally leaving for a walk. Big Nezu Doramizo I have discarded into. That time was walking in with me. But was looking at the conduct of friends laughing standing on the bridge. I feel that a waste anywhere in my chest has not happened any it could have. I also had become Oida adult when viewed from that time. But it still did not come out of fractionation of about Seikosha Raeru the kimono of another place. Line on your own. If I have to come a time when Bro Beard graduated. I had a strange idea that something that does not extend to the such is the worry of clothing. So Bugil has told me not to need a kimono to his wife. His wife knew the amount of books that I buy. A book I bought I asked if everyone read. Some of the things to buy there is also a character argument. But of course it should be passed through the eye. Because you page even not to be there was some not cut. I was at a loss to answer. If I buy things that do not need anyway. I noticed that it's the same for clothes even in books. Under the pretext of its on I will be in various care. I wanted to like to buy the band or piece goods. Such as love of the daughter. So we asked the wife to everything. His wife is not to say that go by himself. It commands and come together me also. Miss you that do not even go. Now differentness that was brought up in the air. As the identity of the student. Is what did not have the habit over to walk with so much as a young woman. Since the childhood I was still a slave of habit than it is now. Somewhat but hesitated. Went out to take the plunge. Daughter had dressed very much. Habit chatai is white in color. It stands out your such because that was painted to enrich the face powder. You people of traffic Yuku staring. They never rebelled and I'm sure the line of sight is what I saw the young lady. Because I see my face. Did those strange 3 people bought what you want to buy to go to Nihon Basha. Since also various care varies between buy. It took free time than I thought. His wife is to bother consult with why not call my name. Sometimes cloth to keep an address to the vertical to the breast from the daughter of the shoulder. To me too. 3 steps. You that kurero look retreated far. I am in each occasion. It toka's useless. It toka look good. Was anyway to hear the full-fledged mouth. Return takes a long time in such a thing as now the time of the dinner. His wife is said to treat something in return for me. Was Sureko me into a narrow alley with a vaudeville the Kahara shop. Alley also narrow. But it was narrow also home to Kawaseru the rice. No knowledge of the geography of this neighborhood Diko I am much surprised by the knowledge of his wife. To be continued. Thank you for your viewing. If you like please subscribe to the channel. I am very encouraged.